Well, that was super weird. What's going on?
I was like, wait a minute. Are we in a
Yeah,
time warp?
I literally just sat there like,
Huh.
and then I realized there was no music. So I'm like, oh, let me put on something. And of course, it's under suspenseful. So it's like, I'm like, okay, whatever. What's going on?
What's happening?
I am truly, honestly living my best life. And for anybody who's just tuning in, welcome to another episode of Midweek High Vibe Conversations with yours truly, Kerri Lewis, and my amazing, incredible co-host, Drew McCaughey, who happened to be sharing a fabulous story about high vibration that I told him to pause so that he could share with the community. So first off, thanks for continuing to play with me on Wednesdays at 12.
Oh, man. I look forward to it so much. Thank you for being there yourself. I mean, this is just such a great time of the week to just have really fun conversations. No matter where you are, it's just
Yeah.
fun time to do it.
And I mean, I think this kind of unfolded organically, and I think it's really helped me grow and expand just in our connection and how I show up in my own life. But ultimately, our purpose is to show up and to inspire and educate others so that they can have the experiences that you and I have all the time in
Yeah,
our
it inspires the right word, right? It just recently posted a post about that. And it's about, how do you help other people operate at higher levels? Let's just put it that way. How do you help people feel better? Well, the first thing you got to do is help you feel better. You need to be at the top of your game. And that's the way you influence and potentially have an influence on helping other people raise their levels. You can't get sick enough to help sick people get well. So that's what we do here. We hope, right?
And I
And
love
hope,
that. I saw that post and I was in my chair and I'm like, yeah, preach, because I cannot tell you. I mean, obviously, working as an addiction and mental health recovery coach, I would say 110% of the time, the people I work with pour from an empty cup. And even worse off, they feel guilt and shame when they choose themselves over caring for somebody else, even though they are spent, depleted, and have nothing to offer. So I love that so much. But not to go down that rabbit hole quite yet, because we will, I'm certain. Talk to me about what you did for the amazing cheerleaders of the school that you kind of do pedicab driving for.
I don't kind of do it.
My daughter definitely keeps blowing me off, guys, so he can do that.
So anyway, for those who don't know, I drive a pedicab. Most people call them rickshaws at the University of Michigan. So I drive around Ann Arbor, and I have a trailer, and we have several of them. And I have another driver who's a high viber just like me, right? So we team up together a lot because we know the mission is to spread high vibes. that's our intention. And as a result, we've attracted a lot of the teams, lacrosse team, swim team, water polo team, football team, hockey team, blah blah blah. And one of the teams is we've attracted is the cheerleading team. Not all of them. There's a certain group of them that live down in the campus area. So anyway, last year I started giving them rides to the game, just sort of impromptu. They just have fun. I give them rides to the stadium, And this year, I thought, maybe we want to ramp it up just a little bit and see if we can get some participation with some of the other athletes, because all the athletes sort of live in the same area. And not all of them, but they live generally in the same area. And so I thought about 2 hours before we were going to pick them up to take them to it was a night game this weekend. So I had some time to play with it. Usually for, noon games, we don't have a lot of time. In fact, this Saturday, I got to pick them up, 8 o'clock or whatever in the morning and take them there. So I thought, well, we got a little time. Maybe we can get have a little parade route for them, have people cheering them on. I mean, they're all about, they're out there doing the team spirit thing all day long, all game long, rather. And, how about we try to get some participation from some people giving them a cheer? And the other thing that came to my mind is that we've, over the time we've been running the teams around, every team sort of has their ride. We have their music for them. We know where they're going. We take them to certain areas. Like they have a designated or specific ride. And we thought, why not have the cheerleaders have their ride, right?
Oh, I
So
love that.
yeah, so uh, I texted the men's lacrosse players and some other people that live on the street that's down the road from where they live that is on the way to the stadium, and I asked them if they'd be interested in participating, and I never heard back from them, which was unusual because we've got a good relationship. So about an hour before we were going to pick them up, I stopped by the lacrosse house because it's right on the way, and I went up to him. There's about 6 or 7 guys outside watching TV. And I said, hey, guys, did you guys get my text? I haven't heard from you. Somebody turned around. I don't even know because I haven't met them all yet. There's 50 of them. And said, Drew, the text already went out. We'll be there. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So we wheeled down and we got it on video. It's pretty cool. We wheeled down and there's the only people that were on that street, because it was a night game and everybody was all over the place, were the lacrosse players, and they did a great job. They came out cheering, and we talked to the cheerleaders after, and they were like, "That was so cool! Like we never get anybody cheering for us." They a couple of them were pretty a little bit overwhelmed by it, but it was really fun. And I later found out, which was the coolest thing to me, was that all those lacrosse players had no intention of being around that house at that time because it was so early in the afternoon. They were scattered all over campus. And what the guy was saying to me was the text already went out, meaning we're bringing everybody back. They're
I,
all coming back to do this for you. I'm like, I found out later, I'm like, wow, guys, that's like really cool. I appreciate that so much. And I mean, just the vibe of that is priceless, right? It's just priceless.
well, I want to, sorry, I'm typing as I add a ticker so people can get a hold of you, because I think it's so important that you guys can all reach out to Drew as you recognize the power of love and high vibration. And really, that's what I want to celebrate now that I can focus is you came from a place of just utter love to be able to put out. You extended yourself by taking a moment, and everybody's like, oh, it's just a text. No, it's not just a text. You took an like time, energy from yourself in consideration to these amazing athletes. And yes, cheerleaders are athletes as well,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
To celebrate them in a way that they haven't maybe ever experienced. And highlighting it even further, you've created such deep connections with the athletes around this campus that not only did they showed up in full force and changed what it was they were doing to make sure they were able to support you. And that, guys, is the reason Drew and I are so passionate about what we do and why we show up every Wednesday, because when you show up as love, you attract love and you extend love. You want to offer love in small ways that may seem insignificant, but have such a profound impact on the lives of others.
Exactly. And it was just an impulse that came to me, right? I didn't go, wow, how can we, give the cheer? It was just like, hey, I got an idea, right? And
Yeah.
it's 2 hours before. Let's see if we can put this together. If we can, we can. If we can't, we can't. And it just went beep. It all came together.
And that's how we join forces, right? I got a random impulse to hit up Drew. I was going through my feels. He posted something that really resonated. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna thank him. I'm gonna extend love because he gave me love. And then in the conversation, I'm like, hey, you want to do the show together? And instead of, oh, let me consider upon her, blah, 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 Drew was like, yes. And since then, we've had so much fun despite hiccups, despite frustrations with technology. I can't speak for Drew, continue to call, like, I'm continue to be called to show up and just have a good old time with Drew, knowing that if nothing else, guess what? We're elevating each other's vibes and you can't lose there.
Right, exactly. Even if it's
Yeah.
only two. But the thing is that one person by themselves who knows how to, keep themselves and maintain themselves in an elevated state of consciousness, if you will, high vibrations, right, is more powerful than a million who don't know how to do that. So if you
I
have
think
two,
actually, can I interject? There's
sure,
actually scientific math, guys, that has evidence suggesting that one person who sits in a vibrational frequency of 550 unconditional love, right? Actually is more powerful than 480,000 individuals who sit in fear. And that has been mathematically, like, calculated. So I mean you're spot on, and that's why you're able to attract and get people to do things for you, because you have such a powerful presence of non-judgment and love that people naturally are like, yeah, I got your back, dude. You need me, I'm there.
that's it's funny. That's their exact words. Oh, we got your back. But we
Yeah,
tell them the same thing. No, we got yours.
yeah. But it's true. It's You're right. It's spot on. And that um love extends, and we are more powerful as we move into higher vibrations of, and even if you can't get to unconditional love, guys, because I'm gonna be honest, I don't sit in unconditional love all the time. I'm continuously growing and expanding, and I'm doing the work to get there, but I don't, but it doesn't matter. I've come to acceptance, I've come to forgiveness, I've come to courage. All of those are higher frequencies, higher vibrations than fear, shame, guilt, apathy, anger. And so, even if you start to give yourself permission to get curious enough to do the work and then shift into like higher vibrations that way, instead of anger, it's forgiveness, or instead of judgment, it's curiosity, you're still having a massive impact on many people who still sit in shame, guilt, and fear.
Yeah, and many people that you don't even know.
Yeah.
you know, I mean, just because the energy, there's no limits to energy. So
It's so
you
true.
put, that's one person. We're talking about one person. Put two people, three people, four people. I mean, two people is the example here, right?
Yep.
But 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 in a room together, that's a game changer.
It absolutely is. And in that space, you heal so much more rapidly. There's two stories I want to share. One comes from today. I get a phone call from a previous client of mine who's like, I just have to share a win with you. And in her sharing her win, she shared a story about how somebody she loves immensely was being bullied. And the person who was bullying her, she felt really badly for, because obviously she's not coming from a place of love. And I challenged that right there. I said, nope. The coach in me has to stop you. The minute you feel badly, guys, you've created judgment about that person's experience. And I don't know why that person is being cruel to somebody else. What I do know, it's not my place to judge. What my place is to sit in awareness without creating a story about it and sending love. And that is power. That is power because for, we're able to then positively impact others, even if it's not that little girl. It's not my job to know that, but I can sit in love. And in doing that, I'm not lowering my vibration and I can sit in love for others. And that's what I challenge this person to do. I'm like, don't create a story about whether you should feel sad for this person, bad for this person, whatever. Just sit in love, sit in awareness of the experience they're having. And in that, you stay in real, pure power that is impacting the world positively rather than creating stories and not, I wouldn't say negatively, but not supportive of where I see all of us being able to get to.
Right. Yeah. It really is personal work, right?
Yeah.
It really is. And so that's the work.
Yeah.
Keeping yourself elevated and getting the monkey mind out of the way. Because that's what I call it, right? The monkey mind. And
Yeah.
and actually there's, I'm a flow state coach. I'm a flow state activation. Well, what does that mean? Well, I'm helping you with various tools to operate more consistently at an elevated level. Scientists call it flow state. Athletes call it the zone. There's, we've talked about it. The map of consciousness shows us where those frequencies are. Well, what happens from a physiological standpoint is important to understand when you're operating in those frequencies. The first thing that happens is your prefrontal cortex basically shuts down. I mean, it gets out of the way. That's what gets in the way when people are overthinking things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really interesting when you study the physiology of operating in these frequencies and understand that there's really science behind it. And then what happens as a result of doing it that puts you in the places where you're not going to be as judgmental, you're not going to overthink things. It's just fascinating stuff.
Yeah, and I'll share another story that happened today. And out of respect for my loved ones, I won't identify their relationship to me, but two people in my immediate family, so to speak. Right? I had made a commitment last week to pick up somebody I love, so that the person who normally picks them up could go to a very important appointment. No biggie. Well, I totally forgot, and I was not in a position to be able to follow through on that commitment. And this person in the past has held massive sway over my spiraling into guilt and shame and self deprivation. And I sat there and I'm watching this unfold with two people I love, and this person starts yelling and they're screaming. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of anxiety there. And then I see another person who struggles with anxiety immediately go into love and say, no biggie, we're gonna pivot. Let's just do boom, boom, boom. And in that change, I was able to watch one, just how much work I did, because the people who have had the most influence over my formative habits, beliefs, and behaviors no longer had any influence over my emotional state at all. None. And two, I was able to, rather than judge a situation or myself for dropping the ball or not following up, blah, 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 I was able to witness it from a very objective point of view and being like, oh, damn. Okay, so that anger really comes from not being in control, anxiety. And this person who normally has anxiety, because I'm sitting in love, came from love and was able to mitigate the issue in zero point 0.2 seconds. And that's flow state. That is being able to just be like, let's see how this unfolds without creating a story about it. Or what most people do, right, is they go immediately into self depreciation. They start to judge themselves. They start to make up stories about what's wrong with them or how they're whatever. And that doesn't serve anybody, because all you're doing is creating more energy of anxiety rather than just staying in peace, staying in joy, being with what is.
Yeah, and that's a great term, by the way. You were able to witness it instead
Yeah.
of being involved in it, and
Yeah.
that's flow. it's just like, okay, what's next?
Yeah, and then subsequently, guys, that's when I got this beautiful call. I went outside, and of course, the universe knows how I feel about my hawks. I have a hawk come flying, no joke, like right over me, not 500 feet into me starting my walk. As I'm continuing to walk, I'm just in joy, in bliss. I see like 11 hawks hovering over me. I see my sign 22, my number 77, and I'm just like, it's cool. We're gravy, baby. It's all good.
Yeah.
Here is again, what I want to preface for people who are like, this is really obscure and this may be hard for you to wrap your head around. The interaction I had with these two individuals earlier, one in particular, massive in terms of how I experienced, how I saw myself from a very early age until my probably mid 30s. And so to be able to not own any of those stories from my formative years in utero or like 1 years old to whatever to now is powerful. I mean, that's profound. That is healing at its finest. And that's what Drew and I work with our clients to achieve, to start to break free from the habit of judging ourselves, the habit of feeling guilt and shame, into places of giving yourself permission to be being curious, giving yourself permission to experience joy rather than judgment.
Yeah, and I want to just share too. You just reminded me. I actually kind of forgot about it on Saturday. Andy and I started out our day. We were waiting for some cheerleaders to come out to run them down to the house, and we were just hanging out, and we were talking about all sorts of things, and we were making a comment that today, because we could both feel it, today's going to be an amazing day. Like we could just feel the energy. We knew what was coming up. I mean, we
Yep.
sort of had a really good inkling of this is going to happen. This is going to happen. So we were talking about that, and Andy went, "Oh, look, there's a dragonfly hanging around your trailer." I turned around and went, "Wow, that's cool." And then he went, "Oh, look, there's a hawk flying right over top of us." And I just turned around and said, "This is going to be a really,
Really
really
big.
good day."
Yeah. Well, yeah, because so often I know I can't speak for you, but I can speak for myself. I remember when I was so separate, I believed, not I was, I believed I was so separate from the earth, so separate from nature, so like, I don't know. It's so, when you think about it now, talk about an egoic way of thinking, like we exist in this experience, but I'm separate from it. But now, it's like the earth, Gaia, like just the energy that we exist in wants to impart love on you. It just wants to spew gifts and miracles and abundance to you. It's just that we, in our ego thinking mind, try to make up a story about what that looks like or how it needs to be. And in doing so, we create resistance, we block the flow.
You know, I'm not going to get political, but I got to tell you, I watched an interview yesterday with RFK that I just went, whoa. Not getting into political anything, but really nailed it when he talked about being out in nature. He said, that's in it, I'm paraphrasing, I'm not quoting. That's where we have access to the divine. That's where we have access to God. That's where, whatever you want to call that. And it's showing us all the time. Now, this is coming from a guy who ran for president of the United States at one point, right? So I'm like, wow, we're really having an influence here. There's some movement in the direction that you and I 10 years ago probably wouldn't have even thought or considered, right? The possibilities of that. So there's a lot of momentum rolling along right now, and there's a lot of energy moving. I can tell you that the students came back this year absolutely on fire. I
Yeah.
mean, I have never in the 3 years that I've been doing this, I've never experienced the energy level that these kids are bringing back this year. And so they're not aware of it, but they're so close to it that it influences them anyway. All the energy that's been moving this year in particular, but it's in the last couple of years, but this year has been powerful. They're feeling it,
Yeah.
and they are ready to have the best year of their life. And you just talk to them, and they're all just like, "Yeah, this is going to be a great year." Like, do you know why? you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's
so
been really interesting.
I do want to go back to you know what's funny? I don't even know who RFK is. That's how disconnected I am from any of that garbage. Because for me, guys, I'm gonna be honest. Like I only infuse my experience with love. And if there's any type of division or narrative that could potentially cause me to spiral into old patterns of belief and behavior, I'm like, yeah, tap out. Even like, cause I'm super transparent and I share all my stories. I even this morning, I'm like, oh, we got an awesome show. But last week, Drew and I had a hiccup, and there was frustration there. And I thought to myself, that doesn't feel good. And I don't ever want to exist in that energy. Like, I just don't. So if I can mitigate it, I'm going to. And so just popped off, let's do this and this to hopefully avoid the frustration, because that for me feels really good. And guys, guess what? In my life experience, I get to feel good all the freaking time. And that's what I'm going to do. And if it doesn't feel good, I ain't doing it no more. And I can easily say, nope. And I've done it. I had a co-host where we were rolling. It was great until it wasn't. And I said in 5 minutes, sorry, this doesn't serve me. It's no longer fun. And I love that about Drew is he gets it. He's not like, he said, yeah, nope, already on it, girl. I knew it. I caught it. I was like, blah. We were both frustrated. It didn't work. Let's just fix it so that way we can enjoy the experience rather than like push against what doesn't feel right. But I do want to talk about something. So I'm talking to this beautiful person yesterday, highly intelligent, very aware, talking about the universe and stuff. And this person says to me, the universe is not listening to my safe word and hasn't for 6 months. And I felt their energy, and it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, and so I said, well, is that true? And they stopped, and I said, well, you're having a conversation with me right now. So, of course, the universe is listening, guys. It's just, are you open and willing to see the signs? Just like Drew and I were talking about hawks and dragonflies and numbers and crystals and colors and people dropping into your life unexpectedly. If you ask, you will receive, right? That's written in spiritual texts across many different religions. It's not specific to the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, the Tao Te Ching. Like, it is there, right? If you ask, you will receive. It's just our egoic mind, right? The mind, my mind, that's like, oh, I'm separate from the earth, is like, uh, that's just a coincidence, or that's not for me, or whatever. And so I really caution and impress upon you guys, look for the signs, look for them, because if you ask, something will appear. It's just not going to appear the way you think it should, but it will appear.
Yeah, and the other thing, a lot of people add resistance to that flow. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the other thing that happens. So if something's not, first of all, there's no such thing, I guess, in our world as things that are negative, right? It's just an energy. Like, if we're all experience all of the energies, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, if you're feeling guilty about something, oh, that's guilt. Identify it,
Yeah.
right? Consciously identify it. Oh, I know that feeling. That's guilt. Because the more you do that, the more you become aware. And the more you become aware, the more you catch it. You can get
Yep.
out of resistance. And then the more you become aware, the more you start seeing things line up. This happened. This happened. Well, of course that happened. And these are subtle things. You know, sometimes they're really, really subtle. And sometimes the subtlest things that happen are the funniest. The
Oh,
absolute
always.
most hilarious. Like, that's an inside joke. Nobody else would understand that, but you and the universe, or you and somebody else who's tuned in. This is why I love working with Andy so much, because he and I will see things that happen and just go, oh my God,
Yep.
that's just too funny. Of course that happened. Nobody else would ever understand it, but we do.
So I'll share funny, right? So I live with 14 people, guys, and I love them to death. But everybody has their quirks, and one of the people I live with likes to keep dishes in their space for endless amount of time, endless. Right? So I have a skull cup. I love my skull cups, guys. I'm totally vibing with my skull cup, and this person used it. And I remember 2 days ago saying, I'm not gonna see that skull cup. And I got into ego. I'm being petty, right? And so I catch myself. I'm like, Kerri, it's a cup, dude. You're willing to go into ego over a stupid cup, right? So I let it go. I laugh at myself, no biggie. This morning I wake up and I'm like, haven't seen my skull cup, right? Immediately go into ego. But of course, I'm laughing my ass off because I'm like, Kerri, it's just a skull. Like, who cares? Go buy a damn skull cup. They're not that deep, right? Because it's just what I've been used to. And then I'm laughing at myself. So I'm like, really? Really? You're going to trip over a skull cup? So I walk downstairs and the person's at the sink washing out the cup that I was. And I just had to laugh. And to your point with Andy, I'm just like, oh, I got you, universe. I totally know. That's a subtlety. That's
Yeah.
the stuff you have to look for and just be like, oh, yeah. Thank you for the laugh and keep it moving.
And then you go, thanks. I appreciate that a lot.
Yep. Absolutely, absolutely, because that's all you can, and it is growth, and it's so funny. So going back to what you said about there's no negative energy, and to be really transparent, guys, like this is something that I've been working extensively on myself because I still get caught up in like, oh my God, this sucks, this is awful, right? But I catch myself quicker and quicker. I have my spiritual routine every morning, and part of it is to read certain quotes on different sites. I read this one, and it says, count the garden by the flowers, never by the leaves that fall. Count your life with smiles, not by tears that fall. Which prompted me to then be like, meh, that don't serve me. I'm going to go into another insight timer to read their quote, which says, wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integrating of the contraries. And so I immediately jumped in and created my content for next week's newsletter because of this, because it's exactly what you said. You're spot on in that being aware of the guilt. If I'm not aware of the leaves that fall, how can I appreciate the green ones that are there? If I'm not aware or allow myself to cry those tears, how can I experience the smiles? And so it's not resisting it, it's just witnessing it, allowing it to flow through, so that way you're not resisting the whole of yourself, right? Nothing is perfect and nothing is just all roses, because if it was all roses, how can you appreciate the rose in the first place?
Yeah, exactly. One of the things that I say all the time is you can't know what you do want unless you know what you don't want.
Yes.
So you're going to get contrast, and it's how you handle the contrast. I mean, I
Yep.
get contrast all the time. You and I don't walk out the door every day and everything goes, oh, yeah, this is perfect. That's perfect. That's perfect. We get contrast. That's what we're here for. We're supposed to sift and sort, sift and sort. What do I want? What do I don't want? What do I want? What do I don't want? The key is becoming aware of when things pop up that you don't want and going, oh, okay, I don't want that for sure.
Yeah.
Right? Catching it right away was instead of, you know, why don't I want that? Why, why is it that that came into my life? Just go, oh, I know I don't want that. So if I don't want that, what is it I do want? Well, I want that, right? It's the other end of the stick.
Yep.
So if you can catch that and just shift your focus over to more of what you want, you say, okay, people say all the time, and you've heard me say it a lot. In the metaphysical world, they say you got to let that go. I say, good luck with that, because if you're focusing on what you got to let go, and you 100% get what you focus on, well, guess what? You're focusing on what you want to let go, and guess what you're going to get more of.
Mm,
So if you can catch it and just go, oh yeah, I don't want that. Other end of the stick. It means I want this, and just focus there. that energy has to fade away. I'm not judging it. I'm not saying you're a bad thing. It's just something that came up. I focus over here on the energy I do want to focus on, and that energy fades away because two opposing energies can't coexist in the same time space reality. And in my environment, I'm in charge of my time space reality.
It's so true. Exactly. And, I'm not a doctor. I'm going to preface this for all the people who are like, you're not a doctor. But that's why I have such a problem with going into a meeting and saying, hi, my name is Kerri Lewis and I'm an alcoholic, right? Okay. If
Mhm.
I do that, I am absolutely an alcoholic because I'm telling myself that I'm an alcoholic, right?
Yep.
Did I, in fact, have time in my life where I struggled with drinking and excess of many things? Hell to the hell, yes. Hell, but I don't anymore. Why? Because rather than associating or attaching myself to a label or an old story, I exist in my time and space reality now, as you would say, and how I want to experience my life now. And now it's I am abundant. Now I am love. Now I am compassion. Now I am um joy. Right. And if you're all of those things, how could you lean into anything in excess? And
Right.
what you do, right? Because look, I still struggle with contrast. I rather than judge it, I catch myself in the awareness and then I just say, "Oh, okay, I got it. I'm going to let it go. Let's keep it moving."
Yeah. What's next?
Yep.
you
Yep.
know, so many people just dwell on, I got to wrestle that thing to the ground and kill it.
Yep.
No, you don't. You know, we're not problem solvers. We're solution identifiers. Two different energies. And that's, part of that's conditioning, right? We've been
Part,
taught we're
everything.
problems.
I would
Yeah,
say it's
yeah,
all conditioning.
all conditioning. I mean, we've been taught we're problem solvers. You got to solve those problems. No, you got to allow the solution to come to you. That's if you're trying to wrestle that thing to the ground and kill it, good luck.
Yeah. Yeah, and here's the thing. We are really truly co-creating our experience with
Mhm.
the universe. Like that's not some made up terminology. Everything that you look at externally is a byproduct of your internal habits, beliefs, and narratives. That's it. Simple as that. And, as I work with my clients on mental health and addiction, I really work to encourage them attach to judgment because at the end of the day, did you ask to be, embedded with beliefs and habits that you have to control everything, that you have to know everything? No, you didn't. So if you just give yourself permission to be like, okay, this is a habit. It's what I've known, but I don't have to stay in that habit. Then you start to break free of that cyclic that you keep experiencing because you're never ever really working on your internal narrative in the first place to create a different experience for yourself or a different reality.
Yeah, because most people again are not taught to do that inner work.
Yep.
And that's why we do this show, right? That's just to throw out there, hey, there are options, lots of them. And if it's not us, like we say all the time, look, if you don't resonate with us, there's lots of really good teachers out there.
Yeah.
So find one that resonates with you.
Yeah.
But whatever floats your boat, go down that road. This one I like that energy. This one I like that energy. I mean, we're not the only ones out here doing this work. That's for sure.
There's
Lots of
so many.
options.
Yeah, and the thing, here's the other thing I want to impress upon the community is Drew and I are tapped into incredible people who have the same wisdom and intrinsic knowledge, because I don't even want to say it's like, because we just know it's a knowing, right? Because you cultivated that knowing. And there are, to his point, they are doing this work. And we're tapped in because we operate from such love. There's no competition. There's no, oh my God, Drew's gonna take my clients. In fact, he so generously offered his services to the community that I host, right? And Yanko as well. And so we really cannot impress upon you enough when you go down this path. It takes effort, guys. That's just real. To examine your beliefs takes effort. To decide whether they serve you takes effort. To incorporate new beliefs takes effort. But when you do that, there isn't this lack mindset where I need all the clients for me or I need all the stuff for me. It's, hey, there is so much out there, and how can we share and extend so that more people have access to what it is that we've been able to understand for ourselves.
Right. The other thing is that I share this a lot too, and that is that when we're talking about operating in higher levels of frequencies, flow states, getting into that 550 to 750 range on the map, and learning how to sustain that, which is the key, because you can get there whenever you're doing something fun, right?
Yeah.
So if you're having fun, you're probably there. The only question is, can you sustain it? But one of the things that I say all the time and share with people all the time, the only thing that teaches that is experience, right? So that's why I love some of the plant medicines I recommend. I'm not talking about psychedelics, uh, but I also why I love my energy table, which I shared with your group in the pendulum. I help people experience that energy. That's why I love the trailer, right? That came through me and said, "Here, give people this experience of operating in an elevated state of consciousness." Because once you experience it, once you feel it, and you know that, whoa, that's a different area, the work becomes easier
Yeah.
because you want to do it. It's like you go, that was a different state for me.
Mhm.
I want to experience that more.
Yep.
So, yeah, once you experience it, I remember the first time I did. I remember going, I think I want to do this more often. Because I didn't always do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what I love about the things that you and I know we can give people with different tools, different, you know, suggestions, ideas, concepts. We can help people experience that. And when they experience it, then that's the teacher.
Yeah.
That's the teacher because words don't teach it.
Yeah, and I mean, to your point, the person that I was talking to yesterday, the energy they came into the conversation with from the energy they left the conversation with had shifted.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't from an activation table, guys. That wasn't from play. You know what it was from? Somebody seeing them and saying, "Yup, all that stuff you went through doesn't make you any less worthy of love, and it's not even you in the first place. So what if you start to let yourself off the hook? Sometimes you raise your vibration just by being given permission by somebody else to forgive yourself, right? I
Yeah.
feel like there's just, so to your point, we do it differently, but the end result is the end result. And what Drew is spot on in saying is, guys, it's palpable. You feel it. I felt this person's energy shift. Boom, right? And in fact, Eckhart Tolle talks extensively about a time when a woman came in and she had just this dark, like heavy, just energy. And she walks into his office and she spews all this, and he's just sitting there. He's just sitting there in his state of love, non-judgment, and all of a sudden, boom, releases it. And so she's 100 pounds lighter, right? And then she walks out. She's like, "Thanks so much, Eckhart. You're the best. I love you." Mind you, he just listened. And then another lady walks in and she goes, "Oh my God, the energy is so heavy." And Eckhart's like, "Yeah, we just got to clear that out." That is the power of connection, of giving yourself permission to be seen, of being vulnerable, and most importantly, coming from a place of curiosity and willingness to try something different than what you've always known to do. Because the definition of insanity is repeating the same thing over and over, expecting the different result. And that's what Drew and I witness on the regular in this world. People, organizations, systems doing the same thing over and over, rinse and repeat, makes it look different, but it's the same thing, expecting things to change. It's not going to. So reach out to Drew, reach out to myself, or reach out to somebody and be open enough to trying something different.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's so much fun when you're experiencing all the stuff that you and I experience, and we want everybody else to have that kind of fun. Like every day is fun. Like
Every day.
everything that happens is fun, and we just want more people to have that experience more consistently. That's the intention, right? And so I love the Eckhart Tolle story because yeah, the other one that he what told was the one where he had somebody come in and had a lot of negative energy. Now he cleared it out of his office, but he went out to dinner and somebody else had a lot of really negative energy and somehow attached to him. I mean, the energy that we exchange, we're in control of or we're not in control of. And when you're more in control of it, then you have better experiences. And one little tool that I would share with somebody right now is just to see how it works, right? To experience how you can have an influence on other people. Anytime you make eye contact today, just go out into the world and anytime you make contact with another person, smile at them and watch what happens. Just try it.
But you know what? I have to tell you, I don't want to be but a lot of people are fearful of love. They just are. And so I'm gonna give all of you guys this insight. And I said this to one of the women I was talking to earlier today. As you become more loving, you'll attract a ton of love. Don't get me wrong, you attracting the good, yummy deliciousness. You are. It's awesome. But the people who are in real seeped repetitive cycles of fear, you're going to repel them. They're going to have a visceral reaction to you because their their energy is so far removed from your energy that it just feels so uncomfortable for them to be in that space. So if you smile at somebody and they go, which happens to me all the time, just send them love and be like, oh, I sending you love, my friend. Nothing but love to you. Nothing but love to you. Any parting words? I'm just gonna say this, guys. You guys rock. Continue to share this. If you have questions, hit us up. Seriously. I know that I was scrolling Drew's um website, my website, just however you can find us. We are happy to have conversations. We are happy to answer questions. We are happy to bring you up on stage so we can have a bigger party. And we are just really, really grateful and honored for your presence here, for sharing if that feels right, and for continuing to be curious, because as you stay curious, you help raise the frequency of the collective, which is what Drew and I are always striving to do.
Absolutely. High vibes, everybody.